I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Well, today, we're in a very exciting time. We're going ahead now and accept the construction going on the last 3 days behind our broadcast is a sign from the Lord. I don't mean to be flippant about that, about the building of the arch that we want to build here in the community of Harlem. Several things that will take place. Let me say also that we are greatly inspired by the history and the building of the wall by Nehemiah, who rebuilt the wall around the city of Jerusalem after it had been torn down, and by Ezra, who rebuilt the Temple of Solomon after it had been burned down. And they rebuilt the temple 70 years after its destruction. They rebuilt the wall, Ezra and Nehemiah. So I'm greatly inspired by this, but I'm even more so inspired by the fact that Solomon, the wisest and richest man that ever lived, who encouraged all of us to remember the law. And if we do so, we'll find good favor. If you look at Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1, you will see where Solomon, the wisest, richest man that ever lived, says, "My son, forget not the law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and life and peace shall they add to it." That's another subject matter all by itself. Let mercy and truth not forsake thee. But what was on Ezra and Nehemiah as they rebuilt the temple after it had been destroyed and laid waste for 70 years, Ezra rebuilt it, who was a priest, who kept the law. And Nehemiah, who 13 years later came into Jerusalem to rebuild the wall that had been laid waste, broken down, and all 12 gates had been destroyed, came and rebuilt. So the rebuilding of the city of David and the Temple of Solomon, you got to hear this, was possible because of favor that was bestowed upon Ezra by Darius and Nehemiah by Artaxerxes, both kings in the Babylonian Persian Empire. You got to hear this. And I want to now, if you will, extract from the fact that this great favor was given to Ezra and Nehemiah, that favor should come upon me and upon us, you and I, that we may build an arch here in the community of Harlem, once named Harlem, but God has changed the name of this community to ATLAH. That we shall build an arch as a monument and a memorial to those who died in the Middle Passage on their way to become slaves in America. Further, we're going to celebrate the prophecy, not the brutality of slavery, but we're going to celebrate the prophecy of Noah, the preacher of righteousness, in Genesis chapter 9, verse 23 and 24 and following. We'll celebrate the prophecy of the slavery prophecy, but not the brutality. And we're going to tell you how to handle that very heavy lift as a person who wants to honor the word of God, that God was not in sin when he sent us here as slaves to be, as he sent us here to be, as Hamites to be slaves. God was not in sin. Noah did not sin. Remember, he's a preacher of righteousness. He's just gotten off the boat after 40 days of rain and 40 nights also. Today, what I'd like to be able to do is just bask in this beautiful narrative about Nehemiah and how he was able to win favor and how he was able to come back to Jerusalem to rebuild the wall. Just bask in it. This is perhaps, I think, the second greatest story in the Bible, if you will. The first was when Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt and they conquered the land. But when Ezra and Nehemiah lead the children out of captivity in Babylon and they rebuild the temple and the wall, it's just got to be the second greatest. And I pray that somehow or another you will hear me. First of all, to let the favor of God fall upon you. And by the way, let me ask y'all something. Have y'all gotten your cowboy boots yet? Look me in the eye. Because you're going to have trouble out of me if you haven't gotten your cowboy boots. Remember, we're talking about 20% increase in our lives. And I'm going to take the bar for the next. I'm going to study law on my own, not in the university. I'm going to study law, tort, constitutional, criminal, civil law for the next 2.5 years on my own, and then I'm going to take the bar, right? That's how I'm going to increase by 20%, in addition to exercising more patience. But I said to you, you need to get yourself a pair of cowboy boots. Have you got those cowboy boots yet? I'm looking at you. We're going to have trouble if you don't go out there and get them cowboy boots like I told you. All right, but what we want to do now is just bask in this. This is so exciting that Nehemiah was able to get the favor of Artaxerxes to go back to rebuild the wall. And we want to extract from that to build an arch called the Middle Passage Arch here in Harlem. Mr. Engineer, once again, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 4, where Solomon says, if you will keep the law. And everybody, if you know anything about Pastor Manny, he's always talking about the law, the laws of Moses, which is the template of Jesus without flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The laws of Moses, Mr. Baptist, Mr. Catholic, Mr. Presbyterian, Mr. Apostolic, Mr. Pentecostal. The law of Moses is the template of Jesus without the flesh. In the beginning was the Word. John, the gospel writer, writes. And then that's in verse 1. And then in verse 14, he said, then the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. My friends, when you reject the law of Moses, let some preacher lie to you and say that Paul said you could reject the laws of Moses. That's not what the Apostle Paul said. When you reject the law of God, you are rejecting Jesus, because Jesus was in the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word, the law, was God. And then the law dwelt among us. My friends, it can't be any clearer, but I can tell you this, it is probably because of Satan's power and the lust of the flesh, it is probably the most difficult thing for people to believe that in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God. Well, a lot of Muslims, a lot of other people have a problem believing that Jesus is God, you see? When I try to tell you that the laws of Moses is God, you say, well, I don't know about all that. And then when you try to tell the Muslims that Jesus is God, you say, what's wrong with you? He's God. And well, he might be a good man, might be a good prophet, but he ain't God. You see what I'm saying? And you might say, well, the laws were given by Moses, but that wasn't God. But the Bible says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh in John 1:14 and dwelt among us. Okay, let's get started now. Did you bring up the favor verse? I saw it come up, but then I didn't see it come out all the way across the screen. In verse 4 of Proverbs chapter 3, if you keep the law, which is Jesus, the laws of Moses, which is Jesus, so shall thou find favor. And that's what Nehemiah and Ezra were able to get. And good understanding in the sight of God and man. All right. Thank you, Mr. Engineer. So we're looking to have that favor fall upon all of us, to build an arch and to build a city of righteousness for the Lord Jesus Christ to return to. All right, I'm going to just do some reading now. Now, I'm a terrible reader. I have to admit that. You might as well go ahead and confess. I am a terrible reader. I got one bad eye, and the other eye is not so good. A lesbian woman shot me with a hot shot several years ago, tried to me to go blind. It wasn't for Jesus, I'd be carrying a cane right now. Anyway, so I'm going to try my best to read. It's going to take a little time. I'm going to read and comment. But the focus of this reading is just to bask in the favor that was given to Nehemiah. Pardon me, oh boy. Excuse me, I'm so sorry for having to do that. Pardon me, please. All right, okay. The reason why I'm going to read these chapters today is just to bask in this. You can never go wrong with reading the Word of God. All right, let's get started. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 12. All right. And Nehemiah is now back in He's now back in Jerusalem, right? And he says, and I rose in the night, I and some few men with me, neither told I any man what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem, neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. And I went out by night by the gate of the valley. By the way, we're going to learn about the 12 gates in this reading as well. So the first gate is the valley gate. Even before the dragon well, and to the dung port, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. Then I went. Now we were looking at God has given Nehemiah through Artaxerxes timber to come back to rebuild the wall that had been torn down, burned down. So now he goes out at night because there are a lot of spies, a lot of people hate him. He goes out by night and take a few trusted men with him. And then I went to the gate of the fountain and to the king's pool, but there was no place for the beast that was under me to pass. Then I went up in the night by the brook and viewed the wall and turned back and entered by the gate of the valley and so returned. So he came back into the same gate, the valley gate that he went out of after he'd gone to the dung gate and the king's pool. And the rulers knew not whither I went or what I did, because he was doing it at night. Neither had I as yet told it to the Jews, nor to the priests, and that would have been Ezra, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest that did the work. And there were some prophets in the land at that time that God had raised up over the past 13 years. Then I said unto them, and he said, I didn't tell anybody. Then I said unto them, see ye the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gate thereof are burned with fire, the gates thereof, burned with fire. Come, and let us build up the wall. And that's what I want to say to you. Come, let us build this arch, a memorial monument to those that died in the Middle Passage. And we are going to build in ATLAH a place for Jesus who died, who hung, bled, and died on the cross and was resurrected again. It will happen here in Harlem, the community known as Harlem, but God has changed the name to ATLAH. You know, Harlem and Jerusalem is almost like spelling together. They both have the L-E-M ending. Come and let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. Then I told them of the hand of my God was good upon me, as also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, let us rise up and build. And that's what I want people from all over the world to say. Pastor Manning, let us rise up and build a place for Jesus to return and a Middle Passage arch for those that died in the Middle Passage. Let us, from all corners of the world that hear my voice, I'm praying that God would say, they will then say, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. But when Sanballat, that will be Al Sharpton, and the Hornite, and Tobiah, that will be Obama, the servant, the Amorite, and the Gershon Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us and said, what is this thing that Manning is talking about? What is this thing that you do? What is it that you do? Will you rebel against the king? Will you rebel against Dr. King? Will you rebel against Dr. King, Pastor Manning? What is it that you do rebelling against Dr. King? They said, verse 20. Then answered I them and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore, we, his servants, will arise and build. We're going to rebuild Harlem. But you have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. And we don't have, listen, we don't have any kind of memorial here for Hamite people anywhere on the planet. There's no memorial for us, not just for the Middle Passage slaves that died, but we have no memorial anywhere on planet Earth. Nothing that represents our great heritage. Nothing. And I will not let you claim the pyramids as a memorial because of their satanic use. So we don't claim them as our memorial. But everybody else has got a memorial. Everybody's got a monument. The French have got the Eiffel Tower. And the Indians have got the, if you will, Taj Mahal. There are great cities that have been built. We have no, black people have nothing on the entire planet. They have not built anything. Have you ever heard of an African Navy? Have you ever heard the Navy of Liberia or the Navy of Ghana? These are all East Coast. Nigeria's Navy. Have you ever heard of, we have no ships. There's not one automobile that we've built, not one. Come on. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm a hater and I want to degrade black people. It's just the truth. How is hiding the truth noble? How is hiding the truth that black people don't have? They've never built an automobile. They've never built a seaworthy vessel. They have no monuments. They have no major desirous city. How is hiding that truth noble? And that's the when you hide that truth, that means you're for the black man. It weakens them further. Expose that we have no, and then find out from God why we don't. But now God is saying, let's build ATLAH. Let's build ATLAH. The problem with this is that Hamites have never built anything. I mean, it is almost like when you say, let's build ATLAH, make it a righteous city for God, let's build the arch, it's tantamount to saying, when there was no where, no when, no what, no how, and God stepped out and said, let us create. Because black people, creation or building or establishing an urban development is not in their DNA. I have the most difficult job ever assigned to any servant of God because it's not in the DNA of black people. They've never built a car. Everybody, even the Yugoslavians had the Yugo. Everybody's built their own automobile. Black people have no ship, they have no car, they have no great monument. And this is not hate. This is just speaking the truth. And now I'm going to come along and inspire black people globally to build a city for God. Yes. Yes, it will be done. But think for just a second. They don't build because it's not in their DNA. And if it's not in your DNA, my message falls on deaf ears because it isn't. Now, if I said, let's form a basketball team, let's form a march against the president, let's get a black president. If I said that, well, that's in their DNA. Well, you couldn't beat them to the football or the basketball or baseball. That's in their DNA. But they don't have one automobile. They don't have one monument anywhere on the planet. Nowhere on the planet. Nowhere on the planet. And here's something that will really get you going. The best building they ever did of schools and monuments was what they learned from the white man who taught them and when they were slaves. And so immediately after slavery, because the Japheth man, the white man, though he was a slave master, ran the plantation, he taught them his own skills and abilities. And they came out of slavery and they built Howard University, they built Fisk, they later built Shaw. Madam J.C. Walker became a great entrepreneur. They built banks and insurance companies. They sent 4 senators at one time from the South and slave plantation to be senators in the Congress. And in the 19th century, right after slavery, because the white man taught them how to do it. They learned those skills from the white man. But the moment they started cursing the white man, the moment W.E.B. Du Bois and Martin Luther King started cursing the white man, they lost their contact and they lost their ability to build. And those institutions that they build, they're fledgling now, but they haven't built anything since they started cursing. But the slave master taught them how to build, taught them how to build stone buildings, taught something they never did in Africa. You can let that annoy you, but it's just the truth. It is just the truth. And we need to celebrate that. After that, from 1865 until about the early part of the 20th century, there was great building going on. So we can rise up and build. All right, come on, Miss Cynthia, bring me back to Nehemiah chapter 4. I want to continue to read because here is God has assigned me. And I'm going to go ahead and say today probably the most difficult assignment ever given to any servant of the Lord in the history of time and the Bible. I believe it's just but I'm going to get it done because it's just, if you want to talk to black people about basketball, about singing, or about dancing, about marching, about protesting, it's in their DNA. They understand it. But when you say, let's build an automobile, let's do a Tesla. I mean, Elon Musk has built an automobile that's called a Tesla after the great scientist and mathematician Tesla. They've never done it. It isn't in their DNA. It isn't in their DNA. And my job is to cause the favor of God to fall upon them, and they will let me preach to them where it will be in their DNA. All right, Miss Engineer, bring up Nehemiah chapter 2. We're in chapter 2 a few moments ago. We finished chapter 2. All right, bring up chapter 3. We'll start chapter 3, and we can continue to look at this extraordinary favor. This extraordinary favor. You got chapter 3 of Nehemiah? This extraordinary favor that was given to, and the leaders today who are satanic, they're all satanic, have appealed to your failure and not to your favor. The leaders today, they get notoriety from the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the media. They get notoriety because they lead you in your failure and not in your favor. They don't tell you the favor of God can fall upon you and we can build Harlem. They've prostrated themselves. They've given Harlem away to the JFIP, to the LGBTQ mafia. They prostrated them. They prostituted themselves. They've given away even that which God gave to them. God gave them Harlem, which is a beautiful land. I'll talk to you more about its beauty. All right, let's go back to I just want to read this Nehemiah event because it's just so beautiful. Chapter 3, we read all of chapter 2. Now we're into chapter 3. Then Elishahib, the high priest, rose up with his brethren, the priest, and they build the sheep gate. Now, we were at the valley gate a few moments ago. Nehemiah went out the valley gate. He went down to the dung gate. He turned around, came back in because there was no place for his horse to get through, so he came back in through the valley gate. So now we're at the sheep gate, and they sanctified it and set up the door of it. Even the tower of Miha, they sanctified it unto the tower of Hananiel. And next unto him, build the men of Jericho. Now, this is very, very important because the men who had been in Jericho had the greatest wall ever. There's never been a wall like the wall of Jericho, but you know what happened to that bad boy? It came down on the seventh day and the shout. But they were great builders. So the men of Jericho joined with Nehemiah to build a wall around. This is favor. It just don't get no better than that. It just don't get no better than that. Where the men of Jericho, the builders of the greatest wall ever, greater than the Great Wall around China. But don't you see that black people don't have nothing? They don't have a wall. They don't have a temple. They don't have a city. They don't have a boat. They don't have an automobile. That's not hatred. Pastor Man, he ain't for the black man. Always putting down the black man. We black people got to stick together. But Pastor Man always putting down the black man. We got a black president. Had a man come out of a white woman, so white, I mean, you could put Obama's mama and then called her our first black president. Bad man, we black people he always putting down the black man. But we don't have an automobile. We don't have a wall. We don't have a city. We don't have a bridge. We don't have a major urban development. We don't have a major bank. We don't have a major economic system. We don't have any of that. And it's not in our DNA, but God has sent me, and I'm not going to quit. You can't get angry enough with me to make me quit. All right, so the men of Jericho. And next to them built Zakur, the son of Imri. But the fish gate, now we've looked at the valley gate, what gate we're at is the sheep gate, now the fish gate. But the fish gate did the sons of Hassaniah build, who also, now he's getting a whole group of people, the men of Jericho, the son of Hassaniah, they're all building the various gates, who also laid the beams thereof and set up the doors thereof and the locks thereof. These are massive gates. These gates were probably as much as 30 to 40 feet each. So you could be looking at 50 feet of a gate where the horses can come through, the military can march through. They were all probably different size gates as well. Verse 4, and unto them repaired Meremoth with the son of Uriah, the son of Koz, and put unto them and repaired Meshullam, the son of Bereshish, the son of Meshhazebel, and unto them repaired Zadok, the sons of Benah. And next unto them, the Tekoites, the Tekoites rather, repaired, but their nobles put not their necks to the work of their Lord. Okay, all right, so you don't want to help us, that's okay. Moreover, the old gate, now with the old gate, the sheep gate, the dung gate, repaired Jehoiada, the son of Paseah, and Meshullam, the son of Beresodiah, and they laid the beams thereof, and set the doors thereof, and the locks thereof, and the bars thereof. So they built the beams, the locks, the doors, the hinges, all the work, great work. And unto them they repaired Methaliah the Gibeonite, and Jadon the Merahoitite, the men of Gibeon of Mizpah, unto the throne of the governor on the side of the river. All right, Mr. Engineer, take me to chapter 4, if you will. All right, let's go to chapter 4 because our time is running short here today. But try to understand, Pastor Manning. Try to understand that why would I be doing this if I had not been called of God to do this? And no other person, you know, the Kings, the Obamas, the Malcolm X, they've all focused on the brutality of the slavery in America and none on the prophecy itself. But none of them have led us to build anything. And we've not built anything. And building is important. Building is important. And we have not one automobile. We don't have one boat. After all these years on planet Earth, black people don't have one monument. They don't have one boat. They don't have one automobile. And I'm saying, let's get started here at Harlem. God has called it ATLAH. It's the city where he's going to return when on his second coming. And let's build an arch, a beautiful arch, as a memorial to those that died in the Middle Passage. Why is that so wrong? Why is that so wrong? What's so evil about that? And there is no evil. Why? But when it hits the ear, now there are a whole lot of Japheth people and Jewish people who hear me and are praying that y'all don't follow Pastor Manning. If y'all do that, we may lose our place globally as builders, as leaders. It's going to affect us economically. You got Shemite, especially Shemite Jewish people, praying to God that y'all don't listen to me. But there are many Japheth people, and some Shemites as well, who hear what I'm saying, and they write to me every day. They call me on the phone. Pastor Manning, just keep preaching the truth. And there's no hatred in their voice. They don't hate black people, but they see how pitiful we are, killing each other, not owning anything, always at the bottom of the totem pole. And white people, Japheth men, call me every day. I just talked to someone today. Where does he call me from? I don't know where he called me from. And told me, just keep preaching. Don't give up on black people. Just keep preaching. And Japheth people are going to help me. Shemites and Jewish people are going to help me as well. But I'd have to tell you, there are some Jewish people and some Shemite people, especially the politicians, who are praying that y'all don't ever hear me. Because if you do and rise up and build, it's going to intimidate and threaten them. They will be in a form of mental slavery if y'all ever start building your own automobiles, your own buildings, your own economy, your own bridges, your own boats, for sailing out of Ghana, major battleships for battle, or major cruise lines, like the Celebrity Cruises start selling out of Ghana. Celebrity Cruise, Norwegian Cruise, all those people will be in big trouble. We'll give Marcus Garvey, and he will, of course, Marcus Garvey was before the poison that Dr. King brought. Dr. King brought poison of focusing on the brutality rather than focusing on the prophecy. But before Dr. King, Marcus Garvey was buying ships to sell you back, and that could have erupted into a major, probably the closest thing we've had to a major economy. And he had a major economy here in Harlem as well. But that was before Dr. King. That was during the time of W.E.B. Du Bois, when these poison snakes like Du Bois, and King was full of poison. Dr. King was full of poison. And you've got a cobra snake now called Al Sharpton. And by the way, have y'all watched how Al Sharpton's gone from like 400 pounds to like 40 pounds? I mean, is he the shrinking devil? How is it? That is never in the history of the world. Have we ever seen a man who was fat? Al Sharpton was like 400 pounds. And now one of his arms years ago is bigger than his entire body. Something is going on that is satanic about that man, Al Sharpton. Something is going on. We need to look at it. Anyway, so you need to hear me. And you need to understand, you need to say to yourself, my problem with Pastor Manning is that what he's talking about is not in our DNA. Now, if Pastor Manning was talking about forming a basketball team, or he was talking about forming a rap group, the engineer has brought up the dichotomy of Al Sharpton. If Pastor Manning was talking about those things, bring it up, Mr. Engineer. If Pastor Manning was talking about fighting the white man, that's in our DNA. We ain't never beat him at nothing, but we would fight him. But Pastor Manning is talking about building our own, building a city, building a monument unto ourselves. Look at this. Look at this. And he's skinnier now than that photo. What? There's something satanic about that. Will you look at that? And he's getting skinnier. Every time you see him, he's getting skinnier and skinnier. All right. Okay, Miss Angela, let's go back to reading from Nehemiah chapter 4. Let's go back to that. And you have to look at me and say, well, wait a minute now. I've been following Pastor Manning mostly because I just want to see what he says, about Obama, but but the man makes sense. I don't like what he says because many times the truth he tells hurts us, but he must love black people. He lives in Harlem. He educates children. We see that he does it. He's wonderful with children. He's wonderful. Here's a man starting school, and the students get accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, master's degree program, doctorate degree program. You just don't up and do that unless you got white people in there running the school for you. You don't up and just do that unless you got white people giving you the money and giving you affirmative action to get into Yale, or get into Juilliard, to get into these law schools. You just don't do it. Pastor Manning is doing that just on the word of God, without Japheth people coming in, or without affirmative action. Let's listen to what the man is saying, and don't try to make him spew that poison that Dr. King spewed. And yeah, I know Dr. King is your favorite, and everybody praises him. But look at black men sleep. Black men are sleeping on the street after you had your first black president. The plight of black homelessness is worse now than it has ever been. Wasn't it supposed to get better after your first black president? Anyway, come on, Mr. Engineer. The Nehemiah chapter 4. But it came to pass that when Sanballat, we read this, didn't we? Heard it, that we build a wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews and spoke before his brethren and the army of Samaria. Now, Samaria is in the north country, and said, what do these feeble Jews do? And that's what they're going to say about Pastor Man. He ain't got no mega church. He ain't like T.D. Jakes. He ain't got no mega church like Kenneth Copeland. And he just old feeble. What's an old feeble old man like him going to do? Well, how he going to do all this stuff he talking about? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which was burned? Now Tobiah, the Ammonite, was by him, and he said, even that which they build, if a fox go up on it, it shall even break down their stone wall. A little fox will call it to break down. Hey, what they building? What man is talking about up there in Harlem about ATLAH? What man is talking about building an arch up there? Ain't nothing. If a cat walks apart on that arch, Pastor Man is talking about, it'll fall down. Because that man don't know how to build nothing. He ain't got no sense. Look at him. He should run for mayor or something. He ain't. But look at it. But verse 4, Nehemiah. Hear, O our God, for we are despised. Can you admit to yourself, let's say for instance, you're a Hamite man, you listen to me right now. Can you admit to yourself that like Nehemiah was despised because he wanted to build for God, he wanted to build a wall for God? Can you admit that I'm despised as well because I want to build for the people? You've heard me talk about a time and year in and year out. Suppose Obama had said, all right, yes, we can. I'm going to become president, and we're going to rebuild Harlem. We're going to build an arch. We're going to build a memorial. Imagine Obama said that. First, you'd have to have a pretty active, powerful imagination, because nothing like that would ever enter to Obama's heart. It would just never enter into his heart. It would just be foreign to him to say something like, we're going to build an arch, or we're going to build Harlem, we're going to make a memorial, we're going to build a great black industry. It's not like that would never interest his heart. Anyway, and they turn their reproach on their own head and give them for a prey in the land of captivity. And cover not their iniquity, and let not their sin be blotted out from before thee, for they have provoked thee to anger before the builders. So build we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. But it came to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up, and that the breaches began to be stopped, they were very wroth. And I can tell you this, listen, there are people who listen to me and say, like Jews, pray that black people do everything you can to mar Pastor Manning, stop him, take his property, jack him up in court, but don't let black people start listening to that man. Roll that back, Mr. Angel, to verse 7. Don't let black people start listening to that man. Because if black people start listening to that man, we're going to lose our power source. We're going to lose our economic base. We're going to lose our power over them. Do everything you can mar. Promote Al Sharpton. He don't like Al Sharpton. Pastor Matt don't like Al Sharpton. Promote him. Make him a star. And because he's just the opposite of what Pastor Manning is talking about. And promote people like Jay-Z. Give him $1 billion ain't nothing. Give his wife $1 billion. Make it $3 billion. Give Rihanna $1 billion. Give all them money so black children, black youth will look up to them because they got. But give LeBron James, these big double jointed. A whole lot of people on drugs right now can play better basketball than LeBron James. But give him money because That way they'll never they'll look at Pastor Manning and want to spit on him. Because if people ever start listening to Pastor Manning, we're going to lose our source and power. We're going to lose our recognition. Imagine if you had an automobile in the electric age called the ATLAH bill, that the ATLAH automobile, a car that was built by the people of ATLAH that, imagine that. Listen, black people don't even own any major, social media platform. They don't own nothing. Don't even they can, they get out there and they sell shoes for Air Jordans and all these others that they sell, but they don't own nothing. They don't manufacture anything. But if they start listening to Pastor Manning, we got to make sure that Pastor Manning, let's find a way to ostracize him, teach everybody to hate him, and then the way we got to do, we got to lift up the poison speakers. We got to lift up people like Sharpton, lift up people like Obama, lift up black males. Listen, make every black city a black mayor. That way they'll be looking, oh, we got a black president. Put somebody black on the Supreme Court. Oh, we got black on the Supreme Court. That way they will not listen to me. Because if they ever start listening to Manning, we're going to be very, very raw. Verse 8. And they conspired, all of them together, to come and to fight against Harlem and to hinder ATLAH. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God, and we set a watch against them day and night because of them. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burden is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build a wall. Now that's some of the people of Judah said. And our adversaries, our haters, our enemies, is what they said. They shall not know, neither see, till we come in the midst among them and slay them. Now that's what they want to do to Pastor Manning. That's why y'all got to help me with this foreclosure. You got to help me. You got to, and you don't have to send money. Just listen to me. And just listen to me. If you listen to me, just listen to me. And many of you have been listening to me for years. But just open your heart. And let's go slay them. That's what that's all my enemies want to slay me and cause the work to cease. Cause the work here at ATLAH to cease. And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt by them came, they said unto us 10 times from all places, whence ye shall return unto us, they will be upon you. Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords and their spears. Nehemiah said, y'all talk that talk you won't. I'm pulling out the weapons. You come up here talking that talk you won't, we're going to bust a cap on you. I have even the little children out there with bows now. You come up here talking that talk. You come up here talking that talk, but y'all going to stop us from building this wall. We're going to bust a cap on you. So put the people after their families with their swords and their spears and their bows. Verse 14. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, be not afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. And it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and God had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned, all of us, to the wall. Every one of us returned to work. Amen. And it came to pass from that time forth that the half of my servants wrought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears and the shields and the bows and the habergeons, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah. And they build the wall. So I got half the people building the wall. I got half the people out there ready to bust a cap. You come up here, we will bust a cap on your butt. That's right. That's what I'm going to say. Once we get started here, and we get started in earnest here, in Harlem building, I'm going to have people that are ready to bust a cap. You come up talking that talk. You come up here, we will bust a cap on you. The funeral parlor will get your body before your mama will get the news that you did. Come up here, talk. Come up and talking that talk. You come up here, we'll bust a cap on you. Look at this, verse 17. They which build on the wall, and they that bear burdens, with those that laid it, everyone with one of his hands wrought. With one hand he wrought and worked, and with the other hand held a weapon. That's what I'm talking about. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Mr. Dean. I think we've read enough. Our time is just about up for today. So we want to build. And I want to recommend that you listen to segment number 3, where I believe that God sent the construction crew up here to be behind me as a sign that we're going to construct and we're going to build. That's in segment number 3. You can find it on our Facebook page or our YouTube page or Rumble. But this is a very exciting time. And, you know, all you have to do is just listen to me. Just listen to the truth that I speak. How much longer you're going to let this destruction, how much longer you're going to ignore the fact we don't have a car, we don't have a boat. Everybody's got a cruise line, a social media platform, got a major monument, they got the Great Wall of China. We have nothing except a whole lot of rabble-rousing, loud talking, I have a dream people who has turned into a nightmare for everybody else and killing each other. And Pastor Manning is trying to tell you the truth. How much longer? All right, listen, before I shut down for today, I want you to hear one of my daughters. Her name is Precious Miriam Babaloa LaFleur. She's put together a beautiful piece. She has a master's degree from the Southern University of New Hampshire. And her master's degree is in arts and English and writing, arts and writing and English. She's a school teacher here at the church, at the Great Tomorrow's Elementary School. She's married to Captain Isaiah Solomon LaFleur. She's a poet. She's a writer. She has a beautiful voice, and she has she's just a writer. I tell you, then she's put together what I would refer to as a masterpiece. I want you to hear that. And then I'm going to come back to close us out with what's going to happen on the 17th when we get down to meet with Justice Khan in the courtroom regarding the foreclosure. Mr. Engineer, bring up Precious Miriam LaFleur.
Developing a strong mind. Mental health is a topic that has always been close to my heart, even before I knew that there was a name for it. My main mantra in life is, do not allow anything to make you step outside of who you are. In other words, always remain true to yourself no matter the circumstance. This is easier said than done. For me, I have found that it was a lot easier to be me when I was younger. Now as an adult, it is something that I struggle with from time to time. As I think about it, I feel that I was more patient as a child than I am as an adult. And it is my lack of patience that gets me into trouble. I have also found that a healthy mind makes a healthy body. When I would work out regularly, it does not only shape my body, but it shapes my mind as well. I will see the me that I wanted to be, both physically and mentally, and I would take the time during my workout to focus on both present me and future me. Journaling has also helped me to focus on myself. This is where I would ask myself how my day went and provide an honest answer through writing. Getting into the habit of journaling every day is very important. It also allows me to look back at what I've written previously and decide whether I feel the same way about a subject or whether I had a change of heart. This process allows me to see my growth, which displays self-accomplishment, and to see where I need to change or get better. We live in a world that is full of stressors. How do you handle stress? This is an important question that the answer will determine if you give off negative energy or add negative energy into your life. I feel it is good to have an outlet. something that you can do to blow off steam. For example, I like to clean, dance, exercise, play instruments, pray, read, write, and occasionally I may doodle. But you get the picture. Discover some things that you can do to blow off steam in a positive way. Another important factor that attributes to mental health is doing things that are important to you. No matter what the crowd says, always follow your heart and be true to you. This goes with my second mantra: happiness is found inside of you. Happiness is not found outside of yourself, material things. Those things only last for a moment. True and lasting happiness is found inside of you. Your path is unique to you. No one can really tell you what path to take, though they may offer you good advice. The answer is always found inside of you. Always listen to your gut. It will never steer you in the wrong direction. There are times in life you have to walk alone because your path may not be clear to everyone. You must do what brings you joy. Do not stop until you have reached your destination. In the meantime, it is very important to fill your mind and spirit with positivity. It doesn't take a lot to focus on negative things in your life and in the world. In all actuality, living this way will make you an easy target for the spirit of depression. A wise man once said that if you see the bad in people, you will find it. And if you see the good in people, you will find that too. We live in an imperfect world that is filled with flaws. I choose to see and focus on the good that is in this world. I also believe that everything starts with you. I normally look within myself, my spirit, and focus on things I need to change, areas that I wish to grow. I received the revelation not too long ago that I should focus on areas where I thrive. Once doing that, I realized that I am good at a lot of different things. Focusing on those things helped me to realize that I can easily overcome those areas that I want to improve. It's part of loving who you are. Once you love yourself, it becomes easy to love others. We are all on different levels in life. We are created to help and assist one another. We should not look down on anyone. This is the life that I seek to live. This is the journey that I will take. Steve Jobs says, "The journey is our reward." My pastor says, "Your journey is just as important as your victory." I choose not to focus on negative thoughts and to flood my mind and spirit with positivity. Negative thoughts and feelings are nothing but distractions designed to distract you and to throw you off course. I will follow my goals. If we can find the good in ourselves, we can find the good in others and learn to love one another as we love ourselves. I pray that Jesus will give you peace this day. How we treat others is a reflection on how we feel about ourselves. How we view the world is just a matter of our interpretation of the world. Many times, we need to change the way that we perceive things. If we perceive the world, including ourselves, in a positive light, we will be surprised by how much we can accomplish. And we will feel so much better about ourselves and the world that we live in, which will make us a great candidate to help and love others. Peace.
All right, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so very much, Precious. Very powerful. You're going to be hearing a lot from her because she's got a lot to say, and she's written other items as well. Now, I want to let you know that we are going to be going to court on the 17th of March. Elder LaFleur will be appearing in court perhaps tomorrow temporarily on behalf of our appearance on the 17th of March regarding the foreclosure. The foreclosure is still on. We're fighting. Most people have never seen a foreclosure go this far. And really, it's the Mellon Bank with its $52 trillion have not been able to take us down and take our property because God is with us. Now, we made a statement. I don't know whether or not we will have it here at some point in time where I lifted up baby Emerald and said, on this birth, we are no longer going to be on the defense. We're not going to be on the offense. For the past 22 years, we've been on the defense, defending ourselves against the Mellon Bank in the city of New York. Well, as of late, we are now going to make them defend themselves against us. But I put together a little piece. I thought I'd let y'all see it. We will be in court on the 17th of March, again, fighting the foreclosure. We need your prayers. We need your financial support. You know we need that. Don't get angry with us because we're going to take our children. We're going to take about 35 people, children, on a traveling seminar to Rome. Don't get angry with us for doing that. Don't get angry with us for sending our children on a ski trip. We feel we can do both things. And say our children should not be deprived of a great education, which we do on global classroom, traveling to China, South Korea, Europe. They should not be deprived of that simply because we're in foreclosure. And I understand we need to be prudent with the money. We're going to use your money the best you've ever seen it used. But don't hold that against us. Amen. Keep praying for us. Keep supporting us. We need money. We do. We do.